This is Dating Skills Review, and today, for our introduction to dating advice, we have part 3, how to approach women. Now, the thing about approaching women is that most guys don't know how to do it or when to do it, and they miss out on a lot of opportunities in their lives. Some men just don't meet women that easily. So here are some examples of the kind of mindsets and approaches to meeting women that give you limited choice. So, for instance, you rely on introductions or luck to meet new women. A lot of guys actually meet their meet their girlfriends and their wives in their work situations, in their careers, which of course is extremely limited area, and means that you're missing out on lots of opportunities in your life. Some of the things that lead to this are you feel awkward approaching them in other situations. So a work situation or something which is usual for you, you naturally come into contact with women and you don't even have to make an effort. But it's by making an effort that you actually meet a lot, you create a lot more opportunities. And this is what guys that are naturally good with women do. So you see another a mindset is that you see most situations as off limits to meeting women. So perhaps when you're going about your day, and you see someone that's very attractive, you just think, oh, it's not the right situation, it's not appropriate to go and talk to her. Um, but in most situations, it's actually not true. You don't know how to start a conversation, so this is a biggie for a lot of guys. It's a part of the fear of approaching a woman, and the reason they don't do it. Another reason is that maybe you've in the past you've spoken to women and you started conversations with them, but you run out of things to say quickly. So this can be even at parties and social events, which are relatively easy places to meet people, but maybe you don't feel comfortable approaching the women because past experiences where you run out of things to say quickly and you don't want to get that embarrassed feeling again. The the reality of the situation is, from what we've seen from 10 years of, uh, of guys studying dating advice and trying to meet more women in different areas, is that you can meet women absolutely anywhere you want, and the women love it. So, coffee shops, walking in the street, department stores, you often see beautiful, attractive women working in like restaurants as a waitress or as shop assistants, as bar girls, or as hotel staff. People you come across just as you're going about your day, and you're missing all these opportunities. There's bookstores and libraries. If you're more the intellectual type, it's an obvious call, or perhaps like classes and other types of social events that you go to. If you like to go to the gym and do fitness training or yoga, going to those classes are opportunities to meet women that have similar viewpoints and similar interests to you. But most guys miss out on those opportunities. Business conferences, bars and clubs, absolutely no places off limits. That's what we've seen over the past 10 years. So in dating skills review, we call this skill set approaching women, and there's a lot of products focused on teaching this exactly. What are approaching women's skills exactly? What are we talking about here? What is the knowledge and the learning which enables you to get better at approaching women and make successful approaches when you see a woman you're interested in? So there are, first of all, techniques to overcome fear of rejection, because what stops most men to in approaching women is just the fact that they're scared, and they don't want to get embarrassed, or they mostly don't want to get rejected, right? So there are actually mindsets and techniques to overcome that, so that you don't feel that anymore, and then you don't have that barrier to climb over, as it were. The mindset towards meeting women that enables you to see all of the opportunities. When you first start out, you just don't see the opportunities, so you don't take them. That's the reality of the situation. But for someone who's learned dating advice for men, they feel very natural about talking to someone in a coffee shop or any of the other places we spoke to before, and those opportunities just spring into your mind. When you're there, as to the guys who don't see that. So there are ways to improve upon this mindset, and that's another area that's taught. Ways to start conversations that get positive responses. So, you know, of course, if you're going to make it a success, you have to start a conversation in a way that gets a positive response from the girl. That means avoiding some of the common approaches to start conversations that get negative responses. You know, there's bad subjects, there's just bad ways of doing it. And surprisingly, some of these are, you know, very common because when guys are scared, they tend to fall back on approaches to talking with women that are kind of well known, but because of the way they are positioned, because you're not taking any risks, they actually turn out to generate more negative responses because the girl can see that you're trying to hide something and trying to avoid the issue that you kind of attracted to her, right? So that actually doesn't work at all, and so you've got to avoid some of those. And there's what we call is canned routines, which are called openers. And a routine is something that a comedian, for example, or someone on stage might use often. Right? Basically, it means a sound bite. It's a line. You know, so people have heard of pickup lines, chat up lines. You could think of it as that. Technically, we tend to call these openers because the idea is to open someone up to conversation. So not everyone needs to use these, but it can be an easy way to get started with meeting more women in your life by having something to fall back on. You have an opener, a default opener, you can just pull out and you don't have to think up something to say. So that makes it easy for a lot of guys to actually get going and say something. You know, so a lot of the courses teach a lot of openers like that and why they're good or bad. Structures to help you always have something good to say. So, you know, a big fear as well is like, oh, you know, I start talking to her and then the conversation just dries up and I get embarrassed and I don't like it. And, you know, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't become successful. Well, you know, there are simple structures to help you always have something good to say and keep the conversation going. That's all for this week. Next week, we'll be giving you some more insights into the skills you have to learn to get good with women.